Welcome to Labor Talks, a podcast by NJASAP and for NJASAP that shares important news and information that you consume on your schedule. Labor Talks will tackle vital topics like safety, contract administration, the labor management relationship, and how to navigate life as a NetJets pilot. And we will bring this information to you with the help of experienced union leaders, industry consultants, and subject matter experts. Whether you listen in your car, on the treadmill, or while working on tasks around your home, Labor Talks is a worthy investment of your time and attention. Join your fellow pilots and advocates as Labor Talks. Welcome to Labor Talks. I'm your host, Clare Carey, and with me today is Retirement Committee Chair Captain Dave Uhles. Join us as we explore your company-provided retirement plan, how NJASAP protects it, and assigning beneficiaries in this multi-part series, Did You Know? Well, good morning, Dave. Thank you for joining me today as my next victim, as you put it.
Well, thank you, Claire. Thanks for having me on your podcast.
Mm-hmm. I asked this of everyone. Where are you joining us from today? You said you got back from tour yesterday?
I did. I'm at my home in just outside of Melbourne, Florida.
Well, thanks I understand. I remember, I think last year our family committee learned about how pilots reset themselves when they get home from a tour. And I think it takes us about 24 to 48 hours to kind of become a normal person again. So thank you for finding time within your reset period to accommodate this recording.
You're very welcome. You're keeping me from tiling a bathroom right now. So yeah.
Oh, perfect. We love our projects, don't we?
Yes, we do.
All right, cool. So without further ado, let's get into our retirement plan. Dave, why don't you give me a quick rundown of the retirement plan available to us as NetJets pilots?
Sure, Claire. So retirement plan becomes available to every pilot on property the first of the month following their 90 days of employment. The new pilots are automatically enrolled at a 6% deferral rate. This comes out of your gross earnings, and you're automatically enrolled into a traditional retirement plan. So that's pre-tax. And then every anniversary, assuming you don't make any changes, every anniversary date, that increases by 1% deferral rate. So, with the pay raises twice a year for a new pilot, you'll never really notice that 1% going up. You are obviously allowed to opt out of that. You are also allowed to increase or decrease that deferral rate and the annual increases as you see fit. Obviously, we suggest that everybody increases that rate.
How often are you able to make changes to your contribution? Is it an annual thing or can you do it at any time?
You can make changes as often as you would like. Typically, you will not see those changes for up to about 2 pay periods, however.
Okay. So we just signed in our new contract, April 2024, our 2024 amended agreement. So under that agreement, what are we able to contribute to our plan?
So currently, you are limited to 80% or a 80% deferral rate. So up to 80% of your gross pay can go to your 401k. Obviously, that means you'll have very little cash once that contribution is taken out. However, you will max out your contributions early on the year. That does subject you to a true-up. Most people go with 20% or less. That does not subject them to the true-up. But anything up to 80% is what you're allowed to do.
And what is NetJets obligated to do for us?
So if you contribute 20% or less of your pay, NetJets matches you 66% currently of your contribution paycheck to paycheck. If you contribute anything more than 20%, they still match you. However, any company match over that 20% mark, the company holds on for cash flow issues. You must be employed through December 31st of that year, and then they will deposit their portion of your match for that previous year by February 15th of the following year. So if you contribute more than 20% at any point during 2025, you must be employed through December 31st of 2025. They will contribute their portion of the remaining match by February 15th of 2026.
All right. And then talking about this true up, you mentioned matching is made up to 20% of your eligible compensation per pay period, and then on or about February 15th of each year. How does it work for those who are mandatorily retired prior to that date?
Okay, so those that are mandatorily retired, you are not subject to the true up in that you must be on property by December 31st of that plan year. You will make, the company will pay you any matching funds that they withheld because you contributed more than the 20%. So you're not in fear of losing that money. This also applies to people that were involuntarily separated. Those that may leave on their own, however, would need to stay on property through December 31st to maintain or to receive that company match portion.
So you mentioned that NetJets is obligated to match up to 66% of your deferral contributions. Will that 66% remain over time, or does that increase as the years go by within this amended agreement?
So that does increase 1 percentage point per year, every year through 2030. So at the January 1st, 2030, we'll be at a 71% matching rate, assuming there's no changes that take place between now and then. And then additionally, one thing I did not mention as well is there's also a 33% non-elective deferral that the company takes out of your FDP earnings, and that cannot be touched. That's in addition to the elective deferrals and the company match.
Okay, Dave, you mentioned the 33% of flight duty pay earnings are allocated into a non-elective contribution to our 401k. Talk to me about that. Is that something that we can elect out of? Can we increase?
That's a great question, Claire. So no, that is something that was put into the contract in 2018. The membership voted by a majority to keep the 33% as is. So basically, this is a IRS requirement that for a non-elective contribution, every pilot must be treated the same. And that 33% is treated as a matching at this time, as that it can only go to your traditional 401k. So that cannot be touched. If you meet one of those max limits, the 70,000 or 77.5, then all of your earnings become pay at that point in time. There is no deferral should you meet those maximums.
Dave, are there any IRS limitations that we should be aware of as it pertains to our 401k?
Yeah, of course. So most of this happens, well, I should say this happens behind the scenes, and that just does a very good job of taking care of this. But currently for 2025, we are limited to a max contribution of $23,500 for those pilots that are 49 years of age and younger. If you turn 50 at any point during the year, you are limited to $31,000. So an extra $7,500 you're allowed to put in. Again, this is an automatic limit, and the only thing you have to be certain of is you're deferring enough money to meet that limit. The company will automatically shut that off. In addition to, and those are limits for your elective deferral. So whatever your deferral rate is, these are what you're limited to put in. There is a maximum limit, which they refer to a 415 limit, that is $70,000 for those 49 and younger, and then 77.5. And that is a contribution of everything: your elective deferral, the 1/3 FDPP non-elective deferral, and the company match. So everything combined cannot exceed 70,000 or 77.5. The great news with this, because the contract has pay raises, has increases to our 401k deferral, we have more and more pilots every year that are hitting that maximum 415 limit.
Great. Okay, now talk to me about assigning a beneficiary. What does that mean? How do I do it? Why is it important?
Sure. So a beneficiary is anybody that, should anything happen to you, with signing a beneficiary, you are basically willing them your 401k. It could be a spouse, it could be a sister, it could be nieces and nephews, it could be parents. Whatever your personal situation, whoever you feel comfortable with, this is a great way of at least making things easier on them for your untimely passing. To sign a beneficiary, you can do this via the Schwab app or the website. And there's just minimum information needed. I believe you need a social security number, contact information, and address for the individual or individuals. You can also have a secondary beneficiary in case the first one is unable to. And I'm not sure of the limit, but Schwab can assist with any of those questions.
What are some frequently asked questions you, as the Retirement Committee Chair, might get from crew members?
So the typical questions we receive are whether anybody has to do anything to meet the catch-up contribution. That's the $7,500 addition for those 50 years and older. There's nothing additional that has to be done. It's just, again, you just have to be deferring enough money or enough of a percentage of your pay to go into your 401k to meet that higher threshold of $7,500 this year. That does increase every few years. The IRS will increase those contribution amounts. They just increased $500 for the base limit, but the $7,500 has remained the same for at least a year or two. Another common question we get is regarding the true up. The only time you are affected by the true up is if at any point during the year you contribute more than 20% to your 401k. Not being affected by the true up is not a bad thing. That means you've maxed out what the company can give you paycheck to paycheck. And if you have plans to leave NetJets on your own, that is a good way of making sure that you maximize that.
So speaking of the moment when we leave NetJets, what would your advice be to pilots who are approaching their final year at NetJets?
Great question. So we have a 1 year to retirement checklist that we just updated last week. That is on the NJASAP Retirement Committee's page. It is on there. If anybody emails us that they're retiring soon, we typically automatically include that. Additionally, the NJASAP staff, which does a wonderful job, they have, if you are within 1 year of your 70th birthday, so you're mandatorily retired, that automatically goes out 1 year prior, the 1 year to retirement checklist. So that's a great help. There's some great information on there. The big thing is the biggest things that you can do for yourself is seek professional advice from a tax advisor and also for investment planning or financial planner. Since you're going into that kind of next stage of life, those are the biggest things that you really need to do. We're here to make sure you maximize either your days off or you're getting the most out of your PTO days, vacation days, and American Express points, really. But really, we're just here to help make sure you're crossing T's and dotting I's of maximizing everything that you can get prior to your last day.
So, Dave, you might notice our age demographic is is quickly decreasing on the seniority list.
Very much so.
We have a large percentage of younger pilots coming on board who might not really realize the importance of retirement planning because of it's so far out. I myself fall victim to that mentality as well. What would your advice be to them, how they should set themselves up for success in the future?
I hate referring to it as free money because of the gains that we've fought for, but make sure you take advantage of deferring as much pay as you can stand so you can gain that company match. That is literally free money. You are doing nothing and you're getting a 66% return on your investment immediately. Next year, 67%. The year after that, 68%. Nowhere else can you get this kind of free money. That's the number one thing. Like I said previously, is you as a new employee, anyone under 14 years of service, you get 2 pay raises per year, your anniversary date and a contract signing date of May. If you increase your deferral rate a couple percentage points every year, you're not even going to notice the hit in pay because your pay is going up more than what most people contribute. And to maximize your pay, you don't even have to contribute as much. Obviously, as you go through the pay ranks, you can decrease that percentage and still max out. But start contributing to your 401k, start it early, contribute often. And then once you have more fluid income, I would recommend making retirement planning investments outside of the 401k plan to really maximize our earning power and for your future retirement.
Is there anything that we have not discussed that you think the crew members should be aware of?
Schwab has done a great job of increasing the educational videos and articles that are on their website. It is truly worth checking into your Schwab account, either via the app or their website, the Schwab Workplace Retirement website or app. Check into that often for educational advice, things that you can do to help maximize that retirement income. And then it is also geared towards the stages in your career. When you're early on, they can offer advice for helping to plan for setting up college funds for children, for paying off student loans, for buying a home, for simple budgeting of your monthly expenses. And then when you get towards retirement, they can help you plan for those next steps for retirement, for tax professionals, for investment professionals, and the such. Obviously, if you have any questions, reach out to your retirement committee. We're here to help you with any questions you might have. Best way is at retirement@njasap.com.
Great. Sound advice. So, Dave, thank you so much for taking your time out of your day off and joining me. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome, Claire. Thanks for the opportunity.
And thank you again for joining us on today's edition of Labor Talks. If you want to learn more about today's episode or have questions, please contact podcast@njasap.com or retirement@njasap.com. Thank you. Thank you for joining us today on another episode of Labor Talks. If you haven't already done so, please follow NJASAP on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter @NJASAP. Show your support for the union with comments, likes, and shares. If you enjoyed this episode, encourage your fellow NJASAP members to tune in, and please share recommendations for future podcast episodes with us at podcast@njasap.com. Stay tuned for our next episode, and until then, this is Labor Talks, presented by NJASAP.